In a last-minute addition to the photo news, Canon has revealed whether or not its forthcoming 70-200 2.8 RF will have internal zooming or not. And here's my reaction to seeing the video for the first time. No! No! What are you...
Oh my gosh. That's a disappointment. No 70-200 has ever had external zoom. And this... really disappointing. Just look at it from a clean perspective. Yes, it's 2.8. It is an L lens. It's new glass, so it's gonna have great image quality, but that's not really what I'm worried about here. I'm worried about the build quality and how it's going to perform over a long period of time. This lens is 11 years old, and it's an external zoom lens. And when pieces that are external like sit out of the lens for a long time and they get pushed around in bags and taken to countries on the other side of the world, it doesn't hold up so well. And obviously I'm sure this new 70-200, the RF version, will be higher quality, but it's still like, I'm assuming it's gonna be made of plastic because it's just, they're trying to advertise this light. So what they first did was they showed us the 70-200 2/3 the size, like, whoa! And we automatically assumed it was internal zoom because every other 70-200 up until this point has been internal zoom. And as a photographer, I was really hoping for it because I was actually considering upgrading to the Canon EOS R or RP, just depending on how much money I have. But then when I saw this video earlier this week, I was just like, no. And a good point that Jared Pollan makes in this video, I know he's controversial, but like, he switched to Sony. Sony just has such a much better lineup for their mirrorless cameras. Because remember, this RF 70-200 is meant for Canon's mirrorless cameras. I currently own a DSLR. The T6i and the 60 Mark I are both DSLR cameras. One's crop sensor, one's full frame. But those use different mounts. So like this uses the EF mount, so that's where this lens comes in, and this lens goes on the EF mount. And the RF lens goes on the RF mount for mirrorless cameras, of course. So, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's a professional lens. Like, this feels professional quality. If you have a L lens, like, yeah, like, let's just take a look at, like, say, the 85mm f1.2, the new RF version. That thing is insane. It's also extremely expensive, and I'm sure there's other lenses just like it, but Canon just works really hard to make their lenses super sharp and super good, and that price is probably justified from a professional standpoint, but just not that many professionals use the Canon EOS R system. It's just so limiting, and it's just it's like the lenses, now this lens is kind of crippled, like the 70-200, I don't feel like a professional would even consider it. Like if you have the budget for, like, because professionals have higher budgets than me, obviously, and you take a look at this lens and you're like, why does it have external zoom? All my other 70-200s have internal zoom, I'm not buying it. And you can just adapt this thing to your Canon EOS R with the usually included adapter. But even then, when you look at the EOS R specs and you compare it to something like the Sony A7 Mark III, it's just, for the same price, like, you can get so much better. And I don't know what Canon's strategy is. I mean, they probably do have a plan, but it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like they're pushing people away from their own company. And sure, I don't have my hands on this lens, this RF 70-200, but if I do, sometime, maybe I'll use it someday, because one of my friends is considering switching to the EOS R. If he buys that lens with this EOS R, I'm sure he'll like it, but I'm sure it's just, I don't think professionals will be considering it. It might be good from a consumer standpoint, but they're probably going to charge $2,000 for it. Because remember, the 70-200s, they're f2.8 all the way through. They don't lose aperture when you zoom, like this 28-135, which this is a really old lens, but still, this lens goes from f3.5, and when you zoom in, it goes to f5.6. This, when you're at 70mm, you are at f2.8, which is a wide aperture, which gets you really good depth of field with nice bokeh. And when you zoom into 200mm, guess what? You're also at 2.8. So you don't, when you zoom in, you don't have to worry about recompensating your exposure, especially if you're doing a tracking shot when you have your camera and you're zooming in or out while you're tracking. And it's also just an obstruction, kind of like, it looks kind of weird to have an all-white lens. Like all the Canon super telephoto lenses are white, and like the 7200, 300mm f2.8, all these lenses, they're white. And like it's not like just, this is how they're classified. They're all internal zoom. This is the first that I know of Canon L lens that's telephoto, that's like f2.8 and in this like designed after, like it's meant to be the successor to this, just for mirrorless cameras, and it's not like any of the others. It's made, from what I can tell in the videos I've seen, it looks like it's made of plastic. And I mean, they're trying to make it light as possible. Like that's the point of a mirrorless system, to have light lenses. But Sony, although the Sony lenses are incredibly expensive, especially their 70-200, it just doesn't make sense. I would rather have a larger lens than have external zoom. It just, it looks more clean, especially when you're filming. You don't, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm sure the lens will be a great lens. It's just, I don't think many professionals will choose to use it. And I wasn't gonna make this video, but a lot of people on my Instagram told me I should, because I kind of was like, what is this? When I put it on my story, I'm like, what is this lens? Like, you should make a video about it. I'm like, I know nothing about it, but I'll just give my thoughts and opinions. Because basically, we don't know anything about this lens. I can't find any information other than it's 70-200mm and it's f2.8 and it has a stupid external zoom, which might lead to a loss of weather sealing and possibly damaging of internal parts if you're being a little bit reckless with the lens. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe it will be weather sealed somehow and it will still like be a great lens. But at the moment, I'm really like, no, because I'm planning to, I want to upgrade the Sony, and Sony just offers so much more for like the same price, and I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure. Yeah, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure if you own the lens eventually, if you're watching this video like after the lens is actually, and like Canon has given us like no details on it either, so like I could be totally wrong about a lot of the things. All we know is it's 70-200mm f2.8. I already said that, but yeah, I'm sure it's a great lens, just I don't feel like it's perfected. That's my thoughts on the 70-200. I was gonna put out a tutorial for the Autel Evo this week, but y'all requested this one for the 70-200 on my Instagram. So if you aren't following my Instagram and you want to like help vote for new videos and stuff, be sure to check it out and maybe follow it if you feel like it. If also, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more photography, videography, and drone content. So yeah, hope you all have a nice day, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.